So the first question states, monoploid cells are produced within which structures? So first, we're going to have to talk about ploidy. And ploidy refers to the number of sets of chromosomes in a cell. So I'm sure you've heard these terms before. Right now, they just mentioned monoploid. I'm sure you've also heard of the term haploid, as well as diploid. So monoploid simply means the number of chromosomes in a single set. So that's what the question is asking for. So let's review haploid and diploid. Haploid means that there's one set of chromosomes in a cell. In humans, gametes are haploid. And remember that gametes are going to be sperm as well as oocytes. Diploid means there are two sets of chromosomes in a cell. It just so happens that humans are diploid organisms since there are two sets of chromosomes in our somatic or body cells. So this question is asking where monoploid cells are produced. So monoploid meaning there's only the number of chromosomes in a single set, so 23. So which organ produces cells with 23 chromosomes? So in this case, it's also asking for what organ produces haploid cells. So the next thing we'll need to do is we'll need to look at these diagrams that they've given us. The one on the left is a male, and the one on the right is a female. Now, an important thing to remember when you're looking at illustrations like this is to remember the perspective of where you're looking at this. So this is called a sagittal section. And a sagittal section is basically where you have a vertical plane that runs from the front to the back, cutting that organism into two. So basically it would be if you were standing and we cut you from front to back, top to bottom. So basically a half and then turned you to the side. So now we'll go ahead and label what all of these letters are pointing to. So A is going to be the male bladder. B is going to be the urethra. Now the urethra leads the urine from the bladder to the outside of the body. C is going to be the penis. D is going to be the vas deferens. Now the vas deferens helps carry the sperm away from the testes where the sperm are produced to help exit the body via the urethra. E is going to be the testes, in this case testis. F is going to be the scrotum. Now in our female, G is going to be the ovary. H is the fallopian tube. I is going to be the uterus. J is going to be the bladder. And K will be the vagina. So now we can start going through these one by one, answer by answer, and seeing where the multiple choice is going wrong. So choice A says H and I. So H is going to be the fallopian tube in a female, and the fallopian tube just provides a passage for the egg to the uterus. So the fallopian tube isn't really going to be producing haploid cells. We'll take a look at I as well. I is the uterus. I is not producing haploid cells either. The uterus serves as a site of implantation for the embryo. So we'll get rid of answer choice A. Answer choice B, F and G. So F is actually pointing to the scrotum, and G is pointing to the ovary. And the ovary produces haploid cells called oocytes. So let's move on to answer choice C, which says A, which is the male urinary bladder, and J, the female urinary bladder. Those bladders are not producing haploid cells. They just serve as a reservoir for the urine to receive urine from the kidneys via the ureters, and then to hold and store that urine until it passes through the urethra to exit the body. So answer choice D says D, which is the vas deferens, and H, which is the fallopian tube. And the vas deferens serves as an exit point for the sperm from the testes, so it's not really producing those haploid cells. And H serves as a passage, again, from the ovary to the uterus, so it's not producing those cells. So really, answer choice B is the best answer. However, I don't think it's entirely correct because I think it should say E and G, since E is where sperm are produced in the testes. Sperm really aren't produced in the scrotum, but B is going to be your best bet. So let's take a look at the next question. The next question says, the process of gametogenesis occurs in the structures represented by. So gametogenesis is going to be the formation of gametes. And remember, we have two types of gametogenesis. There's oogenesis and spermatogenesis. And oogenesis is the formation of oocytes, which takes place in the ovary. And spermatogenesis is the formation of sperm, which takes place in the testes. So now that we have our definitions straight, let's go ahead and label the parts of the diagram. Again, you have a male here and a female here. So A is going to be the male urinary bladder. B is going to be the prostate. Sorry, I misspelled that. Prostate. C is going to be the testis. D is the scrotum. Now over in the female, E is the ovary. Very similar to the diagram above. F is the fallopian tube. G is the uterus. And H is the bladder. So we want to find out where the gametogenesis occurs. So we're looking for the testes and the ovary. So we're looking for C and E. And here we can find that answer choice C has both choices C and E. But let's run through the other wrong answer choices really quickly. A and B. Gametogenesis definitely does not occur in the bladder because that's where urine is stored. B, the prostate. The prostate is responsible for making the fluid that is secreted with the ejaculate. So the prostate isn't making gametes. Answer choice B, B and F. So B, the prostate, we said, is not making gametes. And F, the fallopian tube, doesn't make gametes. It just serves as a passageway for the oocyte, a gamete, to travel to the uterus. So B is incorrect. Answer choice D, D and G. So D is the scrotum, which holds the testes. And then G is going to be the uterus. The uterus serves as the site of implantation. It does not produce gametes. So the final question says, which one of these processes is represented by arrow A? Now the four choices, which I believe got cut off, are fertilization, implantation, gastrulation, and gametogenesis. So what I like to do is I like to go through and make sure that I have these terms straightened out in my head before I start looking and trying to figure out what is what. So as a review, fertilization occurs when the sperm penetrates the egg to form a zygote. Implantation occurs when the embryo attaches to the wall of the uterus. Gastrulation is the inward migration of cells to form a trilaminar embryo. And then gametogenesis, which we've been talking about heavily, is the formation of gametes. So arrow A, it looks like we have a sperm here and an egg here, and the egg and the sperm are adding together to form this over here. So to me, that resembles fertilization, and answer choice A is the best answer.